about our next cohort?
Next, we have the writing cohort, and Jasmyn and Tovia will be sharing what they wrote.
Okay, so hi, I am Shalima Wellington. I am one of the co-leaders for the writing group. And again, thank you so much to everyone for being here. Thank you, Jasmyn and Tovia, for sharing. You guys did awesome. Just so everyone knows, there were quite a number of other writing pieces, but given the time constraints, we couldn't share them all with everybody. So what we're going to do is there will be live on the website, I believe tomorrow morning at 10. Great, 10 o'clock. So they will be live. So please, 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 our girls have worked so hard on this. Go check it out. The other writers were amazing as well. We just sadly only had time for the two. But thank you, everyone, and great job, guys.
I'm Jasmyn, and I wanted to talk about social equality. So over 400 years ago, a system of inequality was built. Our country was built on the backbones of slavery and segregation. Over the many decades, things have changed, but it was never permanent. Things have been compromised to fit into a biased lifestyle. Many people have been killed due to the hand of inequality and injustice. Many have not had the opportunities that life offers them just because their skin is different. Social inequality has overdue its stay through the decade, but social equality is making an appearance today. Segregation and discrimination had a huge impact in the 1960s. Black people were threatened, beaten, and murdered because they couldn't change the skin color they were born with. Many Black men and women were unable to get their desired job if they had the same needed credentials as the opposing white person. Katherine Johnson was a mathematician and physicist for NASA. Johnson faced segregation and discrimination in her workspace with her white employees by they didn't think she had the desired education for the job. The Washington Post stated during the era of legal segregation, Southern and border state legislators relegated African Americans to limited undergraduate educational opportunities at severely underfunded tax-supported Black colleges. This shows how whites overlooked Johnson because she was a different skin color. Through this tough time, even children faced social inequality and segregation. Many white children were not taught by their parents how to embrace another race. This caused problems like whites attending all white schools and Blacks attending all Black schools, even if one school was closer to the child's home. Ruby Bridges experienced this type of hatred at such a young age. Ruby Bridges was treated with so much hatred that she had to be escorted by the U.S. Marshals on her first day to the all-white elementary school. Biography.com states, Bridges would be the only African-American student to attend the William Frantz School near her home and the first Black child to attend an all-white elementary school in the South. This explains, even though the all-Black school was miles away from Bridges' home, whites didn't want her to attend their school due to the fact that they felt superior. Since social media and internet use is on an all-time rise in modern day, Black people also face media representation as a daily obstacle. The news and social media shows what is normal and on trend in society rather than the voices and cries for help all over the country. Many things are swept under the rug because it's normal or unimportant, so many people don't ever hear the other side of the story. It's sad to say that the news and social media thinks of a Black man as someone who steals from stores is normal rather than thinking if that's the only way he could provide for his family. It's sad to say that the news rather discuss celebrity news rather than the various problems of modern day society. It's sad to say that young innocent kids can't experience life to the fullest because they are caught in the crossfire of society and destruction of human warfare. The news and social media elevates celebrity drama like the Will Smith situation, rather than discussing why Breonna Taylor's murderers are still not apprehended. These platforms also rather be concerned with who is going to win the 2020 presidential election compared to the abuse happening in our military to victims such as Vanessa Golan. Unfortunately, the stories of victims like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Elijah McClain, Autumn Arbery, and countless more are seen as a social trend rather than a call to action for social equality. Modern-day priorities need to be changed. Overall, it has to be said that history continuously repeats itself. Ever since our ancestors, it has always been the same issue in society. There has always been a high point and bumps in the road over the course of time. With access to social media and tools available in modern day, a change is going to happen. This change will be permanent and go down in history forevermore. Thank you.
Slavery in America, from a young slave girl's perspective, for the Miseducation of Brown Girls by Tovia Tisby. Slavery is any system in which principles of law are applied to people, allowing individuals to own, buy, and sell other individuals as a de jure form of property. Wikipedia. As I was pushed off of a wagon with 5 other children, I looked back again to see if I recognized anyone from my tribe and see if anyone had been brought to this strange place with me. However, all I could see were people from different tribes speaking different languages that I did not understand. Some looked like they didn't know where they were or what to do, but neither did I. All while this was reverberating through me, I and another group of children were dragged onto a platform with all fixated eyes on us. One man had been calling out some loud gibberish while white hands flew up in the air. Another man had come up on the platform and stuck his hands in our mouths, pulling our lips down to reveal our teeth, pushing our heads back and forth to have the crowd to examine us. Then he left us alone. From there, I was dragged off of the rickety platform and sold to a man by the name of Chris Thomas Alphalick, owner of a cotton and sugar plantation, who is in possession of about 24 slaves. One of his slave owners shackled my neck, feet, and hands, and from there, I was thrown into another wagon about to go even deeper into this new land. As I screamed from the fleeing wagon, the white man pulled a burlap sack over my head and pulled me down. When we finally reached the plantation, the burlap sack that smelled of tobacco was pulled off my head, and I was thrown once more from the wagon. The white man that brought me here had said something to me that I did not understand. I later found out that he was giving me strict instructions on how to address these strange people with yes and no ma'ams and sirs. All I could think of at that moment was how I was dragged away from my family, kicking and screaming, wondering if I would not ever see them again. And this man tells me not to get out of line. That evening, I was taken into the plantation and told what my job would be. The children had specific jobs such as washing clothes, carrying water to the slaves working in fields, and hanging suspended in nets over the master's table to fan flies while they were eating. I was assigned to wash the clothes of the other enslaved men, women, and children. I was working with another girl named Macy who had helped take the laundry down the next day when it dried. Macy was a sweet girl, but at the same time, she was sick with influenza, a hard-to-cure flu that could kill if not treated with medicine, which we did not have. She would have fevers and would sometimes not eat and would throw up if forced to eat. If a slave was sick and couldn't stomach the food they were given, the slave owner would pull out the speculum oris, a tool used to pry open the mouths of slaves. They would crank the oris open and pour the slop, which consisted of mainly water and mashed up rice, down their throats, past the teeth, without being able to chew or swallow it. Not long ago, Macy overheard her master talking about selling her because she wasn't as strong of a worker as I. So I often did most of the work while she was sick. I didn't mind because the clothes sometimes had a sweet smell of jasmine and lavender to them from the children running around in the meadow, but they still needed to be clean. Now I had truly began to feel like I was one of the thousands of what are called cattle slaves. Cattle slaves used to do work of cattle and other animals raised to do field work. I walked away from the big house with the bucket I was going to drain the water from the clean clothes. But as I walked away from the big house, I had noticed it was getting extremely late. So I needed to finish hanging up the clothes so they would be dry by morning. The punishment of these slaves was simply barbaric. The work of was especially hard, and the days were long. Those who did not work hard enough or pick their share of cotton at the end of the day, or the cotton was below weight, would be beaten brutally in front of everyone to send a message. Often, when the children worked picking cotton, they tried to go quickly and could not pick enough. The child would be severely beaten if their bag was underweight. So to prevent this from happening, the parents would take the half-filled bag and give the child a portion of the cotton that they picked, and they'd take the bag that was half filled for the child and take the beating. The hot box was used on a slave that would not act right, as their masters would say. It was a wooden box that was closed all around it, but had one opening at the top. The box was then placed in the ground, and the misbehaving slaves were placed inside the chamber. From there, the sun would suffocate them, and they would take the clothes off of the slave. One evening, after I finished my chores, I rushed to the hot box to see if the young man inside was still alive. As I neared the hot box, I could hear him wailing. As I looked over into the hot box, the smell was horrific. It smelled of urine and feces. He had been sitting in for God knows how long. I wanted to help him, but I didn't have any keys, and there was a big lock on the box. I had heard a noise and thought someone was coming to potentially let him out, but no one came. I tried to break the wood, hoping it was weak enough, but it was not. He told me to run and get out of here. He spoke the language of my people so I could understand him. That night, as I laid on my straw bedding, all I could think about was wanting to go back home to my people. I just wanted to feel my father's loving hands across my face again and hear my mother's sweet voice. I thought about the horror of this place and if that man would ever get out of that hot box. At the same time, I thought to myself, will I ever get out of here? Will I ever get out of this land? Then I realized that I would see my family again. Maybe not in the life of this world, but in the land of the spirit world. So I sighed and fell asleep.